we didn't perform with the appropriate energy on defense, and really struggled at that end of the floor, more in particular in the USC game through really 36 minutes of that game. The last 4 minutes we scrambled and created some turnovers and played with effort. So usually when that would happen, I might flip out, and it would be mentally tough on the guys with the film, grueling film, and then a very physical, kind of like a track practice style workout. But we didn't do that. Those games were emotionally, physically draining. The team has performed well through wide margins of the season. So I thought that was the best path to take, and I felt like we were guarding with much better energy the last 2 days, and so feel good about what we're doing.
Hode?
Hi, Bobby. Two-part question. Now, first of all, playing against Washington zone a couple of weeks ago, did you feel you performed overall well? And second of all, when you prepare for that type of defense, do your practices and film sessions take on a different structure or maybe a time length compared to your regular week of practice?
Yeah, looking back to that game, I think we did struggle, early against it, but once we kind of got into a rhythm going against it, we were able to, to find some cracks in it and figure out where our opportunities were. I think the one thing we did well in that game was guard, and we got stops. And if you could, the best offense is good defense, to beat the zone down the floor so they can't set up. And so, and that's how we like to play anyway. So, if we could get stops and get deflections and get steals and rebound the ball, then hopefully we could try and advance the ball quickly before they could get the zone set. As far as our practices, we watched clips from our first game to notice, things that worked well against their zone, and certainly, things that we need to do to be successful. We gave up too many offensive rebounds in our last match with Washington, so that's something we've discussed, internally in our practices and film sessions.
Chris.
Yeah, Bobby, when you talk about things that you need to do to be successful, what are some of the hallmarks of that, would you say, in the half-court offense?
Against the zone in particular, or just overall?
I would say overall.
Yeah, I think we've been a balanced offensive team. So, we got to get a lot of guys contributing and playing well. And that's been our identity at the offensive end. We've had the most success this year when we moved the basketball very well and shared it, and we're able to get out in the open court. But I think so much is going to depend on how we defend. If we allow teams to shoot 50% like the last two teams did, then we're going to struggle to win. But if we could, generate shots, stops, take some pressure off our offense because our defense is performing, then we typically, get into a pretty good flow at that end of the floor.
All right. A reminder to use the raise hand function if you have a question. We'll go back to Michelle.
Coach, I assume it's pretty too early to look at your resume and think postseason, and a lot of people are saying maybe you're back on the bubble because of the 2 losses. So I assume that's not something you guys are talking about or thinking of at this point.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not even on Twitter anymore. I stopped doing that last week, so I don't know what's going on. I'm just I'm burying my head in the sand here with this, and figuring out how to win one game at a time. And but I did do a deeper dive, and maybe you guys should take a look at all the the blue blood heavyweights out there that might be 13-7 or 14-6. And I mean, there's a lot of big names that are kind of in our wheelhouse with our record, both overall record and in conference play. So yeah, we certainly have to win games and continue to win games, and that's going to be that's what we're going to be trying to do here for the last 11. But go check it out. Go look at the Big 12. Go look at the ACC. Go look at the Big East. Go look at some of those names, and then go look at their records. And And then someone could come over and tell me we're not having a good season this year.
Paul?
Bobby, this week being Suits and Sneakers Week around the country, is there any special meaning to kind of celebrating that event for you?
Well, we as coaches, we try and promote it and bring awareness to it. Cancer has touched so many different people, and we do. We work directly with the NABC, and we, I'm fully supportive of that. I watched my grandfather, struggle and pass away, due to lung cancer, and watching him suffer. And I remember him sitting in my Little League games, and a few years later he was gone, and I saw how personal that was for me to see him suffer like that. So anytime we could bring awareness to it, and it's a cause that's certainly worthy of us bringing attention to it. And any monies that would be generated, we're hoping that we could do the best we can to support it.
All right. Anything else from you guys? All right, Noah, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, you mentioned after USC that, the post-game message, you were going to keep that one to yourself. What has the discourse been between you and the players since then about their effort that night, what they need to do to really stay focused game in and game out?
It's hard to put your finger on why there's a loss of that nature. And for the most part, these guys have fought and battled and have played with great energy on defense, and we were just a little flat in that game. We didn't have, I think at the under 12 in the second half, we had like 4 deflections total in the game. So that's a measure of activity. And so for whatever reason, maybe, I don't know what the UCLA game took out of us. We certainly didn't have our best in the USC game for sure. So I touched on it earlier. You could be really nasty and yell at everyone and, take that approach. I chose a different direction and just more supportive and thankful that the players have put together the season to this point. And certainly I noticed that guys were very unhappy about our performance Saturday night. So there was no reason for me to belabor the point other than to try myself and the coaches express to them the things we have to get back to doing in order to be successful again.
2 more questions as we get ready to board our flight to Washington. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Bobby, you mentioned the comparing your record to other teams in some of these power conferences. I'm just curious, like when you look at the way that the net is put together, do you feel like there's too much emphasis on like not having a 2-4 loss, like one on your schedule, or unscheduled strength, or anything else that jumps out at you?
I mean, I don't think there's any metric that's perfect. So there's always going to be people that would say that this is, but what we did in game 3, should not be the measure of who we are as a team. Like it should be. So yeah, I don't think that there should be too much weight put on our best win or our worst loss. But that's, they have to put together a formula that evaluates these teams as best you could. The one that I don't like really is point differential. And I'm just going to be upfront on that. Like there are games that you could lose by 11, or games like, not to bring Washington into this, but we were up 20 points in that game and we now win by 8 in a game that, there was some garbage baskets being scored. Or the same thing with our USC game. Like we were down 24 and we ended up losing by 8. So now we get more points because, we ended up losing by less than 10 points. And then in the Washington game, we don't get as much credit because we only win by 8. So it's like, that's the one that I would say that I don't really approve of. And that's going to get teams to try and run the score up and do things that they probably shouldn't, in the nature of sportsmanship.
One more question, Jake.
Hey, Bobby. So Warren Washington had a really good game against Washington State last time they were in Tempe. What has been the discussion incorporating him in the game plan this weekend?
I mean, yeah, he's, I hope, that you would see that same guy, those numbers. I think he was 9 for 10 in that game. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a focal point because of, again, the style of defenses and the zone. And, could we get him touches in the high post? able to go high-low with him. There's different things we could do, scheme-wise. I think the guys trust him. He was certainly a bright spot, in our USC loss. He really, I thought, performed, as well as anybody in that game. So yeah, we need his experience and all the things he brings to the table, for these 2 games.
All right. Thank you for the time, Coach, and thanks
Thanks,
everyone
guys.
for joining
Appreciate
us.
it.
I'll distribute this out afterwards. Awesome.